Tonight, Bev will update us on the world that our youth is facing today, so that we might understand better on how we can help our children and grandchildren. Please welcome Bev Hadland.
Great, thanks, John. Thanks. And I also want to say a big thank you because actually Simcoe Voice for Life arranged for me to speak at Holy Trinity today. But because of some of the situations that have been going on there with sexting, they called me and said, we need you sooner. And so I spoke to the entire school in March 22nd. 1,000 students, spoke to all the juniors, grade 9 and 10 together, and then the 11 and 12s together. Then went to the chapel and had 3 classes in the chapel of grade 12s who just hammered me with questions. And it went very, very well. So they're looking at bringing me back next year to speak to all the grade 9s now that I've spoken to the whole school about choices and relationships, because you see, I'm a relationship expert. And nothing would have happened without God. I didn't grow up that way. And without God in our lives, partnering with us, we're His hands, we are not going to get anything done. Without the prayer and living the life that we're called to. And it was that kind of witness at the University of Waterloo that turned my life around. I was a motorcycle mama, not interested in God, and a young girl, virgin, saving herself for marriage, witnessed to me who was living in common law with a man that we'd bought a house with. And that conversion was so dramatic for me that my life turned 180 degrees. And so having gone through bad relationships, having been pregnant as a teenager and again in my 20s, facing abortion twice and going through that whole journey, never having children after that, it was a hard go. But knowing that God could forgive me and starting over and then having to practice celibacy in my 30s. It's like, okay, now I'm not going to marry the man that I've been with for 5 years and I've got to hang on to my hormones. This is kind of an interesting deal here. So I went back to school and got 2 degrees in counseling, and next year I will work on my doctorate. I won't do it till next year because they apparently, when you turn 65, you can get your education free. That's the next day from 2013. Next May will be 25 years for Straight Talk, so we've been around a while. And I love this cartoon because we need to have a laugh every now and then. This is Adam and Eve in the garden and talking about, I don't know if this is a healthy relationship because Eve is saying, will you please pick up all your clothes? This is when they wore leaves. All right, so I've written 3 books. I've traveled the world. I've spoken to over 3 million teenagers. Last year I crossed the line of 3 million. And now this was my latest book, How to Find Authentic Love. Because one of the biggest questions I get asked is, how do you know if you're in love? Can you be in love at 14? And with all the bad marriages around us in North America and the confusion that's going on about our sexuality, the broken hearts that are happening, it is a big question. Are we missing the mark? Do we understand what love is? What different kinds of love? And so I was working on this book and trying to do it not from a moral point of view, but from science. I love science because science only builds my faith. And I believe more and more. I just go, wow. Wow, God, you're amazing. You knew all this from the beginning, and now the scientists are just kind of catching up. So while I was writing this book on authentic love, well, if I didn't get hit with the love of my life. This is Keith, my husband. We've been married now 5 years, January the 12th. We were friends for 4 years. Hi, Keith, how are you? We go out walking his dog, and because I'm the relationship expert, he was always dating somebody. He'd never been married, and he was looking for that special person, and so he'd come for free advice in the hallways where he worked in the building where I lived. And so I'd be in and out, going here, going there, traveling off to school, come back, and Bev. And so he'd ask me a question, and I just kind of look at him and go, poor guy. But all of a sudden, things changed. And when God calls you into marriage, it's amazing how for 4 years you're friends, you look at someone and it's just kind of, hi, cool. And all of a sudden you take another look and your eyes open and you're like, ooh. And in 6 months we were married. And Keith was the perfect gentleman, that whole dating, that whole courtship time where we never did anything till we got married, holding hands, hugging, a little bit of kissing. So here's from a woman who did it all wrong as a teenager and in her 20s. Then I was celibate. I'll tell you, I think if the young kids ask me, I tell them, but I celibate for 25 years, waiting until God brought a man in my life. Both in our mid-50s, both had never ever been married, and so to have him honor me was not touching me. What a story for the young kids as well. And sometimes he comes with me when I do an all-day retreat, and you can see he's got the nice big mustache like this gentleman here. And one of the biggest comments he gets, and he's tall, is that some of the kids will put up their hand and go, "I like your mustache." And we go, we'll go out, and it's really interesting because when you do it God's way, there's a special blessing that's on your life. And we've had many people from time to time come up to us, and I remember this one, I thought it was so funny. She goes, "Oh, I love your aura. You have such a beautiful aura around you." Other people say, "Oh, you're such a cute couple." You still hold hands. And I mean, they don't know that we've only been married 5 years. They just go look at this elderly couple, and they're holding hands, and they're still in love with each other. So we just lead them on. That's good, right? So also to have a little bit of humor here, this is a great video on a young boy's perspective on dating and relationships.
Do you like being on this program?
Yeah.
Do you know who I am?
No.
Do you think I'm good looking?
Yeah.
I think you're good looking.
Yes, indeed.
Speaking of good looking, you got a girl?
Huh?
You
Yeah, girlfriend.
you have a girlfriend?
3 of them.
3?
They're older than me. They're older than me. That's why I get the older ones because they're more mature and they got
You get the older ones because they're more mature.
Yeah, they got more money.
More money. How much older are they than you?
I have to ask my daddy over again because I think I know. Well, one of them age is 30. That's the only one I know whose age is right.
But your daddy knows how old they are.
Yeah,
How's he know?
because he's been seeing them for a long time.
Because he's been seeing them for a long time. This young lad is learning in a family setting what values that are cool. That it's all right to have 2 or 3 or more girlfriends, make sure they're older, and they have money. And he doesn't understand the rest of it. He doesn't understand the sexual dynamics that's going on. But that is being planted in there. It doesn't matter what the father says to him. He sees, and this is just part of his life. He's got 3 girlfriends. It's interesting. I was counseling a mother who had a young girl, and the daughter was in grade 3, and the mother said, "Oh, tell Bev about your boyfriend." And so this young girl's telling me about a boyfriend in grade 3. And so once the young little girl went out to play, I talked to the mother and I said, "Do you realize that you are conditioning your child that it's cool to have a boyfriend? They don't really understand what that is. They're sitting in class watching a movie together and, oh, I got a boyfriend. It's, Bobby or Johnny or whatever the deal is." And I said, "When are you going to allow her to date?" And she said, "Oh, it's not dating until she's 16. I said, "How are you going to do that? You've been conditioning her and teasing and thinking, oh, it's so cute. She's got a boyfriend in grade 3. When are you going to stop it?" So sure enough, in grade 7, grade 8, now the mother's going, "You can't have a boyfriend. You can't be dating." So at the age of 14, this young girl turned around and was dating a 23-year-old. How do you do that? How do you tell a person, I think it's all cute and funny, and then say, "Well, no, you can't do that"? They don't understand. And so it's very important the kind of world that we are creating for our young people. And so this may help in some of the decisions that you're making. We've had to sort of rebrand Straight Talk, go where the kids are, because if we don't, we're losing them. And some of the norms of the next generation, I love this little picture I got off the internet of a little guy with a phone. What you need to understand is when I was in church on Sunday, there was a parent sitting in the pew with a little tyke about this age playing with the iPhone. So, with the iPhone, it's just touch. I have a BlackBerry, so that's different. But with the iPhone, you just touch in this way and that way, and you've got games, you got this, you got that, you got pictures. And here's this little guy, and then they tried to take it away from him in the church service. Oh, no, that doesn't happen. So a little guy, and so what they're learning is that this is an extension of their brain. It's called a reconfiguration in their brain. And this is really important to understand. It's not just a phone to the young people that are growing up. It is a lifeline. It's their camera. It's their letters they send to each other. It's their tweeting to each other, Facebooking. I get hardly any emails anymore because this generation does everything through Facebook conversation. And in the 2 schools I was at today, the teachers played, I'm on YouTube. And so I have some of the videos on my website as well, and that's where we've been spending money because, so the teacher puts on, Bev, what I did is I had a camera person follow me for 4 schools in Hamilton, and we put together a 1-minute high energy presentation from the 4 schools. So I had 4 different outfits to make sure that, 4 different backgrounds, and put it together with some music that we legally could use, and that's always a little difficult because sometimes they'll charge you hundreds of dollars to use 60 seconds of a bar of notes. And so they were all excited. She's really coming to our school? So just get yourself on YouTube and they'll think you're cool, So some of the norms for the next generation, and we need to understand our young people growing up are amazing. They're pioneers in a lifestyle that we have a hard time understanding. Because information in our day changed about every 13 years. It's changing every 9 months. Do you realize how fast and electronic our culture is? Information is around the world. Kids are connecting to other kids all around the world and not fully understanding what's going on. The average 17-year-old, so all the stats that I'm showing now are at age 17. The average 17-year-old teenager already has 10,000 songs in their brain. Amazing. And what are the songs? When I had young girls live with me and they want to listen to their rock music, what have you, and I would never say anything. But the one thing I did is I had them write out the words first to make sure that there was nothing negative or, really immoral, because sometimes you can't really understand what they are. So once they write them all out, a lot of times they lost interest in the music. And the other thing I said is, if you're going to be listening to heavy metal, headbanging music, maybe listen to some classical or some spiritual music. So if you're going to listen to headbanging for 1 hour, how about listening to some classical spiritual for 1 hour and balance it in your brain? And because you see the music videos, you ever go to the Munch Music channel? I can't believe how fast these images are going. And what's happening when you have to stare at a screen, because the images are going so fast, they are branding in your brain. If you're just a normal pace, you look at it very relaxed. The pupils in your eyes are relaxed and you take in so much information. But when everything's moving really fast, high color, high energy, your pupils dilate and you absorb more and more of that information, which can be very, very negative. By the time a teenager is 17 years old, they've had 63,000 hours of social media or internet or video games. Many of these young kids who go into schools and shoot everybody and they never miss. Every firing, they hit someone. Because these video games are training them. It's almost like being in a simulator and they're blood and gore, and you can set how gory your video game is, and then all of a sudden they're out there doing something because they have no sense of reality, what's going on. And television, young people don't really bother much with TV. They'd rather watch TV on their cell phone than watch TV. It's not interactive. You can't do anything with it. So there's some positive what's going on the internet because they can be involved in it, but we've got to be careful what they're being exposed to. Now, by the time they finish high school, they've had to compare 63,000 hours of social media, internet, video games, television, to 11,000 hours of school. Now, thank God for the schools that still teach values and morals and reinforce the family values. Certainly the social media is not reinforcing your family values. If they're in a school, particularly in the Toronto public school system, where anything goes, situational ethics, values, clarification, then you're really struggling against going upstream. How about family time? Yeah. This is by the age of 17, we're looking at possibly 2,000 hours of family time. Now see how it went from 63,000, 11,000, 2,000 hours of family time. Then we wonder why we lose our children to the world. Now we take them to church. at least one day a week. There's hardly any Sunday evening services anymore. Maybe they go to youth group, maybe they don't. So by the time they're 17, they might have had 800 hours of moral teaching. And then we wonder why. We have 100,000 abortions every year. By the time they're 17, they might have had 800 hours of moral teaching. And then we wonder why. We have 100,000 abortions every year and 100,000 single moms every year, and the divorce rate that we have, and everything else that's going on that's ripping apart our culture. Because they have been brainwashed from a very young age. Who is raising them? Reality is blurred. Look at, I love this cartoon. I don't know if you can read it there, but it says the priest is marrying them. He says, "I now pronounce you husband and wife." He's got their phones. And it says, "You may update your Facebook stats." But that's where we're at. And I started texting because I thought, I gotta have an ear for the generation coming up to understand what they're going through, and then to be able to translate it to my generation. My husband, he just can't handle. His phone is a basic phone. It doesn't take a picture. It doesn't do text messaging. It doesn't do anything except call somebody. And I'm going down the hallway, and I've got a nephew who's working in the oil fields in Slave Lake, Alberta. So every day I send him a text. So I'm walking down the hall, and he goes, "I hate that thing, I hate that thing." But it's a way to connect with my 25-year-old nephew. That every day I can send a text to him, or he'll send me a picture of a drilling rig, and we are able to stay connected that way. So there's some positives to it. But we need to understand that this generation growing up, they live with special effects. They live with special effects. Now everything is high 3D in the movies. They'll watch a movie or something on a phone, but then they want a big screen, and they want 3D with the glasses so they can be screaming and avoiding what's going on. They're growing up with a death that doesn't kill. They don't understand that if you shoot someone, they really die because they're on another channel. Or you play the same game over and over again, and nobody really dies, they come back to life. How are they really going to have an understanding or a grasp? So death that doesn't kill, violence that doesn't hurt, they really don't believe it does. Or casual sex that has no consequences. We're really lacking in that area, but really helping them with reality. So who's teaching our kids? Who is teaching our young people? Great question. Learning styles, and this may help you in the approach that you want to do in Simcoe Voice for Life. What do you want to do with the money that you get in? Because the young people today don't learn the way we learned. All right, it's very different. The old style was broadcast. You talk and everybody listens. It was teacher-centered. One size fits all. You went in and the teacher taught everybody and they had to figure it out. And it was instruction and very individualistic. In other words, each person sat at a desk and worked on their own. But this new group, the generation that's growing up, they don't want that kind of thing. It's got to be interactive. They want special effects. They want to have fun. They want to enjoy learning. And it's learner-centered. It's very customized. Why do you think the young people like to be on Facebook or YouTube? They design their own little website. They can put their own background in it. They put the pictures up on the wall they want to. They can link up to their favorite videos. They can put on the books they read this week. And it's uniquely customized to them. Or phones. They can set their own rings. They can put a different ring for every person here in the room. So that they know without looking, they don't need call display. They get a certain ring, ring, ring. Oh, that's Auntie Jen. All right? So, and education, one size fits one. You can't just teach the same way that we did before. And they're on a road of discovery. You got to be careful what you're teaching because they might be sitting there in the text message and you give them a statistic and they go, no, you're wrong. You're quoting from a book from 1989 and they got stats from 2 years ago. So it's just amazing that they have instant access to information and they'll believe what they get on the internet quicker than they will the news channel or even what you are saying. Unless you've been saying it for a long, long time. And they like to collaborate, which means they like to work in groups. They like the social networking. Isn't that what's called social networking? At any time, they feel, if they've got 100 people on Twitter, that they're connected to 100 people. They don't have to see them. They're just, but they feel connected. And so that's the way they want to work in groups as well. The new science of neuroplasticity is understanding how the brain is being reconfigured to this high technology. They do not understand where you're coming from. First off, we all have lived, we can ride a bike, we can live without a car, we can live without a phone, we can live without television, we can live without a DVD player, we can live without a radio if we have to. We survive. But the generation growing up, the phone is almost born with them. And the phone is not just a phone, it's like I say, it's a camera, it takes video recordings for 2 or 3 minutes. It's also that sends their mail out, it collects all their pictures for them, and they can share their pictures. And so it's an extension of who they are. One way to work with consequences, you take a phone away of a young person, to them you have cut off their arm. Now, you don't understand it because you take a phone away from you and you go, oh, good, I don't have to hear that cell phone ring again. But you take it away from them, their brain doesn't know how to work. I went to buy a DVD, this was a couple years ago, and with a power failure, and I went into the store and I had the money and I had done my research, and I said I want to buy a DVD player. And because of the power failure, the guy says, well, I can't sell it to you. I said, what do you mean? You can take a credit card, you just swipe and write down my number and I'll sign it. And you can, and he said, well, I don't know how to do that. I said, but you can do it manually. And he said, no, I don't know how to do that. So I said, well, I'm going to go buy this DVD somewhere else, and I did. So, but he didn't know how to do that. I know how to function if the power goes out. I can still write up a bill manually with a credit card, get you to sign it. We can do these things manually, but for a lot of times for the young generation, they don't know how to do that. This is so important, and the science is proving this. And had I understood this, had my parents understood this, adolescent development, the body is not fully developed or grown till they're 19. Till they're 19. Maybe physically they look like they stopped growing height-wise, but internally the internal organs are still developing. That's why teenagers who become sexually active are at higher risk for sexually transmitted diseases, because their body is not fully developed. And so we really got to be careful. The most amazing thing, and no animal has this, is the prefrontal cortex. This is the area of your brain that makes decisions about morality, that understands long-term consequences, and about risk, moral reasoning, impulse control. Why do you think insurance companies charge teenagers until they're 25 such a high interest rate when they start driving your car? Because they understand this, that this part of the brain is not fully developed, so that teenagers will take risks. That's why they need us as parents to guide them and help them understand the long-term consequences. But if we're turning around as society saying, well, a 14-year-old can get an abortion without the parent's consent. Here they're making a decision, as I did, that has long-term ramifications when I found that I couldn't have children myself. And then you look back and go, how could society let teenagers make these kinds of decisions on their own? You know, assuming that they're adults. They are not adults. They are still growing up. Amazing. This picture here, that's your brain. That's a slice of your brain. The little yellow are neurons, they're brain cells. And do you know that one brain has a memory capacity for 3 million years of memory? Now on the far side here, that is the universe. Isn't it amazing how God is? That He takes a brain, one brain, and then you look out in the solar system and they almost look identical. Takes one brain cell for one course for 4-month semester, and then every time you go to class you produce dendrites, or little highways between the neurons. Absolutely incredible. And the way we learn, and this is why it's so important, do you know our conscious mind? So when you talk to someone, their conscious mind might be listening to you. Our conscious mind can only record 40 environmental stimuli per second. But look at the subconscious. The subconscious mind can record up to 20 million environmental stimuli per second. So it's not what you're saying, it's what you're doing. You ever hear parents say, don't do as I do, do as I say? It won't work. Because all the messages that are going on daily, the person is being developed in that way. I'm going to go very quickly through learning, reading. Do you know that within 2 weeks of reading a book, most people forget what they read? 2 minutes, okay. Reading. Now, oral, if you speak, people will remember 20% of what you said within 2 weeks, but this is what's amazing. Doing the real thing, simulating the real experience, which is with a lot of the games that we playing, doing a dramatic presentation, within 2 weeks you still remember 90% of what you say and what you do. If you're saying it and doing it and believing it, of course you're going to remember 90% of it within 2 weeks. You hear something, you're only going to remember 10% of it in 2 weeks. So that's why the visuals are so important. The videos on out on the social media and YouTube are really, really good. This is how we learn. And this is a cute little video. So Mark, if you just hit this one again, please, and get it going. And then I can stop it. So this is Beyonce on the television screen. I just wanted to show you a little bit because I want to keep it rolling here. But this little baby is learning by watching, by hearing, and then by dancing with his body, with every part of him doing what he can to copy and mimic what Beyonce is doing. This is the next Michael Jackson. Now you try to read a book about dancing. It's just gone, it's lost. You hear music and not dance, but when you do the whole thing, you see someone dancing and then you try to copy and do the same thing, you learn, it is branded in your brain. And so that's one of the problems with pornography that's become epidemic in our culture. It's ruining marriages, it's increasing the divorce rate, just destroying people's sex lives, and the biggest users are age 12 to 17. I was exposed to pornography when I was 10 years old. Never bothered me till I stopped having sex. And so this is just a quick summary of what the Maclean's magazine said about pornography in teenagers. So hit it again, Mark. It's interesting, by taking the Maclean's magazine, that if you read it and 2 weeks later you forget it, they took the stats out of it, and this was one of my volunteers who used to speak with me, but he's married now and he's pastoring down in the States. But he took all the stats and put it to music in that presentation. It's amazing how many of those numbers that the young people will remember. Because it's visual, there's music, and they're really focused on watching what's going on. 244 million porn sites. 70% of Christians struggle with porn. This is amazing. And as a relationship expert, this is one of the things that we're dealing all the time. And I had a parent say to me, well, that's why we just took out cable TV and we don't have computers in our house and we're not going to have internet and we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that. You're not teaching your young people how to survive a sex-saturated society. What we need to teach them are principles. And one of the biggest ones is understanding 47% of kids at age 11 will accidentally fall into porn. I found it on Facebook. Facebook. One of the young guys that was helping me at church had a new special girlfriend, and his name was Joe Smith, and he said, go on my Facebook page, be my friend, or add me as a friend, and you can see my new girlfriend. And so I said, well, Joe Smith, how am I going to find? There'll be thousands of Joe Smith on Facebook. 75 million people are falling to porn. I found it on Facebook. Facebook. One of the young guys that was helping me at church had a new special girlfriend, and his name was Joe Smith, and he said, go on my Facebook page, be my friend, or add me as a friend, and you can see my new girlfriend. And so I said, well, Joe Smith, how am I going to find? There'll be thousands of Joe Smith on Facebook. 75 million people are on Facebook. He goes, oh, no, I use a nickname. I said, oh, okay. It's not kind of strange nickname. I don't know anybody calling him that, but okay. So I put in the nickname, and so it says 206 matches. So you prepare yourself that you're going to get little pictures of people. Facebook is pictures of faces. It's supposed to be. So I'm staring at the computer, and all of a sudden I'm scrolling down looking for my friend Joe, and all of a sudden it's all pictures, actual photographs of naked people having sex on Facebook. Now what you got to have is bouncing eyes. You click off or you report it right away. But God is so gracious because the first look, we have a filter that blocks it from penetrating into our subconscious mind. So the first look is not a sin. You know, if all of a sudden you bounce along a beach and it's a nude beach. But if you look away, it won't filter down there. It's not going to stay and burn an image. But it's the second look. Because you look away quickly because, oh, this is weird. And then you think, And you turn again. Now you premeditated. What happens is the filter, like a shutter, like wearing blinders, comes up. The pupils dilate wide open to take in everything that's possible. Remember, 20 million environmental stimuli, everything that they possibly can take in, and now it is branded in their subconscious mind. And the torment that some people go through with the addictions of pornography, whereas if you train a young person on how to avoid it, when you accidentally fall into it, don't take the second look. Protect yourself. That's most important. Another thing is pray and ask God to help you. Because when I was exposed to it, and then when I stopped having sex and had to deal with everything, I went through some counseling, and confession is good, knowing that God forgives you, getting busy, having other strategies, but praying for God to really guide us through this, because it's epidemic. It's really epidemic. I want to deal with the sexting thing, because this is so important. The average teenager with a phone is receiving or sending 100 messages a day. And it's important to teach our young people etiquette about the phone. So maybe no phones when you're sitting at the table, times of the day when you are free from your phone. You're not a slave to your phone. You tell them to have voicemail, or if they leave you a text message, it's on your phone and you can just set it down and then come back to it. These young people are being so stressed because they feel they have to answer every one of these messages or send off a message. That's $3,300 a month. And it's not getting slower. It's increasing. But now the problem, it's not texting that's the problem. It's sexting that's become a problem. 51% of teenagers have sent a naked photo on their cell phones, not understanding that once you take that picture, you can never delete it off your phone. You think you have, you can push delete, but it's always there. There's a chip in every phone that police can use to track if someone's lost and they find their cell phone. They can open it up and every message you've ever sent or received is still on it. Unless you smash it into 1,000 pieces. These kids don't understand that once you hit send, it is in cyberspace. And it's out there forever. And the problem with it is there's nothing to gain. You know, girls, especially in grade 9, the seniors in grade 12 are going, oh, come on, give me a picture. Will you be my girlfriend? Okay, send me a picture of yourself nude. Okay, semi-nude then. Half nude. Oh, come on. I just want it on my phone so I can look at you during the day when I'm at school. And it goes, oh, that's so nice. Click. And send. Do you know what's happening now? Everything, you could lose a future boyfriend or relationship or marriage down the road. But do you know now that it's becoming, it is a criminal, there can be criminal charges laid. Terry Padden from the OPP he said boys and girls could possibly be charged with possessing and distributing child pornography. They're going after the seniors. What's happening is guys are collecting pictures of nude students as if it was baseball cards. And they share them, they swap them. I'll give you 10 of my pictures from my school for so-and-so from your school. And they collect them in caches. They're called a cache. So that each school is organized by all of the photos. And so if you're walking down the hall and you go, oh, I like Susie. Really? And some kid comes up and goes, here's Susie. It's become epidemic. Some girls are absolutely destroyed, realizing that they sent their picture out there and now it is out there forever. That's why it's so important before we ever give a phone to any of our children or our grandchildren that we understand what we are giving them. And you can hardly buy a phone now that doesn't have a camera on it. And help them understand the power of when they hit send. You may remember March 17, St. Paddy's Day, London, Ontario. Fenshaw College, big party. $500,000 in damage. People would take a 40-ounce bottle of whiskey and throw it into the fire to make a bigger fire, and windows were blowing out and imploding. And at the same time, can you believe this, they took a picture of themselves. And then they Twittered it, or they texted it off to somebody, or they posted it on their Facebook account. Guess what? The police have hired individuals that all they do is study social networking. And so they were able to find 18 people that were suspended from Fenshaw College and charged 11 with criminal offense from Facebook and Twitter. So is that what you want? And you may not get a scholarship. Because now, before you get a scholarship, the school I was at this afternoon, Jarvis, Elementary Christian School, the principal there said when I was talking about this, he said they check the Facebook of their students. They agree that the school will look. And if you are, because kids do this, I get all kinds that want to be my friend, and you look at what they're saying and what they're presenting about themselves. Is it really the way they are? But, so you might never get a scholarship because of what you're doing on Facebook. And this is a great example. I said, who is Camden Bliss Jackson? Google, I said, go and search her out. Oh, there's tens of thousands of matches to Camden Bliss Jackson. Oh, all kinds of pictures, evening gowns, all kinds of pictures of her in bathing suits. Here she was on a radio station in LA. Here's in New York City. She actually, she's a Christian and a virgin. She was Miss Teen Alabama in 2007. Her boss in New York City offered her $20,000 if she would have sex with him. But she didn't. And if you Google her now, she's got a boyfriend, she lives in LA, still a Christian, strong Christian, and still a virgin, waiting till the wedding day. That's what you want for your grandchildren. That's what you want to share with them. That there is no shame, there is no regret. That they're going to come back and look at their life and go, what have I done? Because young people do not understand long-term consequences. The prefrontal cortex of their brain is not developed enough. They need our help. They need our help. We cannot just let them out there. That's suicide. It's absolute. They're raising themselves, and then we wonder why they got problems. Now, let's just keep going. Let's open up to questions. There's like a billboard. It says a lot of the thing you say you're in to get sex. But I'll stop right here because it's 9 o'clock, and I said I wouldn't talk past 9. I could talk all night. You get me wound up. So let's just go with some questions right now. If you have any questions.
What are the students saying to you when they get this information?
Thank you. Very pleased. Now today if the grade 7 and 8s didn't have many questions, and partly because grade 7s aren't necessarily going to ask questions in front of their heroes, the grade 8s. And grade 8s alone had more questions this morning. Yesterday I was in Mississauga and I did an all-day retreat with grade 10 students, all day. So from 9 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon, and we have lunch together, and they had a lot of questions. And what I do is pass out papers, and they can write them out. But it makes sense when you bring the science in and the morality, and you help them understand principles of life, and they realize you're trying to guide them to navigate through this minefield they are in. These young kids are pioneers. Half of us in this room probably don't understand what they're having to deal with. So where are they getting their guidance? They're sort of teaching each other. Most kids know more about computers than the parents. My pastor, his son, you know how you have the parental control on the television? His son at 8 changed the dial so his own father couldn't get into the TV stations. It's like, what did you do? Oh, I changed the code on the parental control. So it's very good, very good response. I've been doing this for years and I'm excited because the young kids today want to learn, they want to understand, which is great. They're more conservative than the last generation. You know, the average age of abortion is 26 years of age. 26, not 16. The younger kids, they're having their babies, and then the next generation they're not having sex. You would not believe how many kids are saying, I'm not even going to be kissing passionately until I'm engaged. And it's not from their parents saying that, because most parents would think, well, kissing, that's okay. I'm glad you're not having sex. And they're going, no, I'm not getting into French kissing. I'm not going to do any of that. So you have an ultra-conservative side, but then you got the other side that anything goes and they don't understand. They're looking for love in all the wrong places, and they're really being hurt by what's going on. For sure. Any questions, comments?
Just a statement, this is just mind-boggling.
Yes. And I have answers, which I'll move quickly through to help you out, some simple things that we can do, but I want to make sure I address your questions first. Because I don't want to be overcome. I'm excited by some of the simple things that we can do to help our young people.
How can you get into the schools to...
Well, first you got to pray for the schools, that there's contacts and connections to get in the schools. The fact that I've added sexting, and you've got to be, you've really got to be cutting edge. Because if you're not cutting edge, the schools aren't interested. I was using smart boards in the schools. Do you know what a smart board is? Some of you do. The kids love it because it shows everything, but you can use your hand, and I can just go like that, and the movie starts, the video starts, go like that, stop. There's like an eraser, but it looks like I can write with red ink or green or whatever on the board, and then I can go like that, and it's all erased. So I can write on top of any of my PowerPoint slides, and then just erase it. So you can actually use a pretend eraser, but you don't even have to do that. You can just do it all with your finger. It looks like you're writing with a finger thread. And they're called smart boards. And so the kids love it because it's far more interactive, and they may come up and do something and what have you, but they're quite costly. I was pleased that Jarvis had 3 smart boards in their elementary school. I was at one of the schools, and they had a smart board, and one of the teachers, he said, nobody wants it. So he says, I get it all the time. He says, people can be intimidated by it. So.
What that sentence you have up there reminds me of one I heard, I thought was pretty good. You probably heard it. When a young guy is saying, I love you, he's often saying, I love me and want you.
That's right. I love me and I want you. Because we don't understand what love really is. Am I still? Here we go. I'm not going to go through the love. I'm just going to go through the end. This is interesting. The kids love this because they said, when you think you're in love, like love at first sight, I say there's no such thing. Oh, yes there is. I said, maybe your parents, they thought it was because they had the connection, but then they got to know each other and they realized they're really good friends and then they get married. But 9 times out of 10 it doesn't happen. But when you're just cruising through life and you look at somebody and all of a sudden you get butterflies in your stomach and your knees kind of turn to rubber and your heart beats faster and you get sweaty hands and you go, I'm in love. At that point, science has shown that there's 6 hormones shooting through your bloodstream. You're on a magic carpet ride. Do you know that your body has 1,400 different chemicals that are in your body at any one time, 30 hormones, and depending on what's going on, your body is a walking drugstore. When I was in a 5-car pileup on the 427 highway in Toronto, I was black and blue. I was knocked unconscious, bruised everywhere, but I didn't feel anything. And the doctor said, you're producing your own morphine to kill the pain in your body. You can't just do it on its own, but when something happens, your body knows what to do. It's amazing. So these hormones, but they leave you. As fast as they hit you, they leave you. And now we've got people, love is blind. Because the heart falls in love. The heart doesn't fall in love at first sight. Hearts have to take time and be best friends. It needs time, and so we've got to help our young people understand that. Having sex fuses your heart to the heart of another human being. That's why God said save sex for marriage. Don't fuse your heart to someone that may break your heart when you're 16, 17, 18, or what have you. Do you know that through sex we release hormones, vasopressin in men, oxytocin in females? It's a bonding hormone. The more partners you've been with, the less ability to bond with one person. God knew what he meant, what he said, save sex for marriage. People have died of a broken heart. Transient apical ballooning syndrome. It's like a sledgehammer of adrenaline smashes down on a person's heart. They're so over. People have died of a broken heart. Transient apical ballooning syndrome. It's like a sledgehammer of adrenaline smashes down on a person's heart. They're so overtaken by the stress of this person leaving them. And it looks like a teardrop. Their heart changes shape for a couple of weeks and then it comes back. But emotionally, they've still got to deal with that. Yeah. Did you like that? Okay. I want to show this little video and then we'll wrap up. Are you okay with that? This is really cute. All right. Here we go. Thanks, Mike.
When elephants retire, many pack their derms for the elephant sanctuary in Tennessee. They arrive here one by one, but stay here two by two.
Every elephant that comes here searches out someone that she then spends all of her time with. What are you doing?
Sanctuary co-founder Carol Buckley says it's like best girlfriends.
It's just like us, somebody that they relate to, they have something in common with. Oh, hello, how are you?
Debbie has Ronnie.
Best buds, these two.
Misty can't live without Dolores. And perhaps the closest friends of all.
Tara and Bella, of course.
There's no other elephant around here?
That's Tara.
Just these two.
And this is Bella.
This is her friend, and her friend just happens to be a dog and not an elephant.
That's hilarious.
Bella is one of more than a dozen stray dogs that have found a home at the sanctuary. Most want nothing to do with the elephants and vice versa. But not this odd couple. They are absolutely inseparable.
When it's time to eat, they both eat together, they drink together, they sleep together, they play together.
Tara and Bella have been close for years, but no one really knew how close they were until recently. A few months ago, Bella suffered a spinal cord injury. She couldn't move her legs, couldn't even wag her tail. For 3 weeks, the dog lay motionless up in the sanctuary office.
And for 3 weeks, the elephant held vigil. 2,700 acres to roam free. And Tara just stood in the corner.
To me, it really was she was concerned about her friend.
Then one day, co-founder Scott Blake carried Bella onto the balcony so she and Tara could at least see each other.
And Bella's tail started wagging, and we had no choice but to bring Bella down to see Tara.
They visited like this every day till Bella could walk.
Wow.
Today, their love and trust is stronger than ever. Bella even lets Tara pet her tummy with her foot. They harbor no fears, no secrets, no prejudices. Just two living creatures who somehow manage to look past their immense differences. Take a good look, America. Take a good look, world. If they can do it, what's our excuse?
If they can do it,
The
what's
sanctuary say.
And just quickly wrapping up, how to protect our heart. Group activities. Encourage any young people to be involved in group activities. There's more honesty in a group than one-on-one. One-on-one is very easy to lie or very easy to wear a mask. Very easy to pretend you're cool or you're somebody else. But in a group, somebody in the group is going to call you out and say, what are you doing? How are you acting like that? You're kind of a phony. So that's the best way to learn about people in a safe environment. Also, you're less targeted by predators if you're in a group. Playing. We got to keep playing. We take life too seriously, and it's very serious for our young people. Do you understand in our day, how many people have been murdered in Simcoe in the last 10 years? Yeah. But we're all exposed every single day to the whole world, and so every day the news is negative. Every day we hear somebody how awful they got killed or how they got kidnapped. And this weighs on our young people. And so we need to lighten up a bit. We need to keep playing. And maybe have one night a week where it's games night or play night and let the young people figure that out. Or if your grandparents do the same thing. Develop friendships. Encourage friendships, because best friends have the best marriages. When you're best friends, number one ingredient of a happy marriage. People are already having sex. I challenge them. You want to find out if you love each other? Stop. If you're not married, stop. 50% will break up. Well, now you know they never loved you. My battery must be dying here. Meals. Every study is showing that families who sit down and have a meal together will reduce the dropout rate of their teens by 50%, reduce sexual activity almost by the same amount, and reduce drugs and alcohol consumption as well. Simply by sitting together, the parents, grandparents, whoever's around, at least one meal a day. You can't do supper, have breakfast. There's a positive energy that goes on. There's a connection, and everybody is real and honest around the supper table, and there's teachable moments in that. Take advantage of it. They're finding even energy-wise, scientists, put electrodes on your brain, and they go, wow, it's very healing, it's very positive with what they're seeing. Laugh! Children laugh about 400 times a day, and adults about 4. You make a face at a child and go, do it again, do it again. And, us, we're just, we're too serious. But laughter, even the Bible, Proverbs says, a merry heart is good medicine. There's a scientist who was diagnosed with cancer, and they said chemotherapy. He said, no, not doing it. He said, I'm going to figure a way. He said, I'm going to laugh myself to wellness. At the same time, other scientists were monitoring him, and all he did was watch funny movies, or read funny books or jokes, and he laughed all day, every day, and within 6 months, the cancer's gone. And so he's done a whole scientific documentary on that. So we need laughter. Bring that in your house. Keep that there. They wanted to understand, the scientists also wanted to understand meditation. Is meditation real? Does it really help us? They couldn't find enough people in North America that could say that they had prayed over 10,000 hours. And as scientists, they wanted to make sure that it was very accurate, and so they had people, they brought in 8 monks from Tibet who had a minimum of 30,000 hours of prayer or quiet contemplation and meditation, and they found a spot in their brain that's very connected to the heart, where God is able to speak to us, because it's a clean channel. They trained 8 people from America how to calm down and center, quiet mindfulness, and they found that there was a change in them very slowly. The same spot in their brain was now starting to expand. So it seems that it's the same area in all of our brains. So we need to help our young people be quiet. No radios, no noise, no TV, natural. Maybe sit outside and have a picnic in your backyard, or eat outside. Or take 20 minutes yourself of quiet contemplation. Just focus on God, or just focus on your heart. Focus on being quiet. And encourage, they say 20 minutes a day would make an absolute amazing difference. Boundaries, this is incredible. I always encourage holding hands, hugging, and that's it. A little bit of kissing. This is Crystal, my assistant. She helped me in Mississauga. She's out in BC right now. She's a virgin. She graduated from Assumption High School in Burlington. I'm always looking for young people that are willing to travel with me and speak. And she's had 3 boyfriends, but no one right now, but her story. And then I'll share the science with it, and that's how we're going to wrap up. She said she was in California, and there was a young guy that was pursuing her, and she had some interest in him. But, she's down there on a 6-month missions trip, and so they're at a gathering. She knows he's interested, so they said, okay, let's all get together and pray. And so he found her, and he got right beside her. Now, normally when you pray, you just grab your hands kind of like that, right to the next person. But he tried to grab in between her fingers. That's a romantic hold. Husband and wife, we hold with fingers with inside of fingers, right? But he kept, and she said right away she had a jolt, a charge. Like it didn't feel right, even though she was very attracted to him. So she moved her hand away and just kind of like a typical friendly hold hands. And he kept trying to put the fingers in between her fingers, and it didn't feel right. And she said that happened probably about 6 times, but she didn't understand that. She was attracted to him physically, and he seemed like a nice guy. He was on the missions trip with her. And they started dating, but she realized in about 4 months that he really wasn't the one that she wanted to spend the rest of her life with. And the science has now proven, and when I shared this, she almost fell off the chair, because this is a new, holding hands is the language of the heart. Do you know that your hands have more nerve endings in your hands than any other part of your body? That's why all the touch therapies are happening, the healing touch. What do? The laying on of hands. And there's a couple, they've been married, the wife of Phyllis is 101 and the husband's 107, and they're sitting there and they hold hands. I said that, Crystal, what was happening to you is your heart speaks through the touch of hands, holding hands. And right away, your heart was feeling a disconnect with the heart of that individual. You could have saved yourself a lot of pain. Yeah, if I had listened, my heart was talking to me. You know, there's 6 billion people on the earth. God sends us to marry 1, maybe 2 people in our lifetime. And if we listen to our heart and understand that holding hands is one of the greatest activities to spend time in, and it's different. Shaking hands doesn't do the same thing. But holding hands, left hand or right hand, there is a healing in it, but there's an actual connection of energy right to the core, to the heart of that other person. And you can tell from that if there's going to be a connection or not in the future. Isn't that amazing? So I can just hold hands. And if someone won't hold hands with you in public, they're hiding something. I'm not going to hold hands. Oh, I don't believe in that. No. Something's wrong. Something's wrong. Don't go there. So I challenge you. Quality will never replace quantity time. I hear people say, well, I give quality 15 minutes a week to each child. Remember, 63,000 hours of internet and games? Quantity will give you quality. You spend hours and hours and hours with those children, and then you get a quality moment, a teachable moment, where you pour your life into them, you pour your soul into them. That's what we can do. That's how we can change the world, one person at a time. Is by taking the time. You have time. Spend it with people. Who cares about the money or anything else? Spend it with your grandchildren or your great-grandchildren. Give them lots of time. Listen to them. And they love your advice and they love your wisdom. They want to spend time with their grandparents. Sometimes because they feel their parents are too busy. And what I do with the young people is I encourage them to listen to their heart, take the heart challenge that they're going to protect their heart, and that they would take 20 minutes a day and be quiet with no technical stuff. Maybe, don't you love that picture? Yeah. Isn't that gorgeous? So don't be discouraged. Keep praying. Keep looking for opportunities and ways to pass your wisdom on to the next generation. Don't be afraid of the new technology. Let them teach you. Let your young kids teach you how to text or Twitter. It won't matter if you fumble through it. They'll love it that you're taking an interest in them. And you can change the world one person at a time. Thanks so much, and God bless you. Thank you.